and welcome back to Cinema. Today, what we are going to cover are all of the different types of stories that you are going to find in movies and stories in general. Now, each of these story types come from Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, which is a fantastic book and I completely recommend it. But in case you don't want to buy it or you're not going to buy it, we're going to go over each of the story types and what their ingredients are. So let's get started. The first type of story we're going to talk about is called Monster in the House. Now, Monster in the House stories take us to our most primeval instincts. Don't get eaten. And it has three ingredients. There's a house, there's a monster, and there's a sin. Now, the house could be any location, it just cannot be escaped by the main characters. So if it's Alien, it's a spaceship. If it's Jaws, it's the town. If it's a haunted house or something like The Shining, it's an actual house or building. But it doesn't always have to be, it's just a location that people cannot get out of. Now, a sin brings in and allows the monster access into this world. And so these are usually cautionary stories meant to teach a moral lesson. And that's really all horror movies are in general, but that's really what it is. And the monster is a metaphor for the consequences of these actions. Now, the main character cannot defeat the monster until the sin is acknowledged and atoned for, and once that happens, then they can defeat the monster.
Smile, you son of a...
But really, that's what you need in order to have a Monster in the House story. So I want you to think about what stories are Monster in the House stories. The next type of story is called a Golden Fleece story. Now, this comes from the old adventures of Jason and the Argonauts, where he went and got the Golden Fleece. And really what these are is their adventure stories. Now, the fun part of these stories isn't in the destination, it's always in the adventure and journey of getting to that destination. And in that, you're going to need three ingredients. There's a team, a prize, and a journey or a quest. And so I want you to think about all of the different stories that are like this. Avengers Endgame, Indiana Jones, Goonies, any kind of story where you have a team of people that all have a mission in mind and they go on an adventure of some kind to get that. And the fun part is all of the different adventures they have along the way. The next type of story is called Out of the Bottle. Now, an out of the bottle story is usually a tale meant to teach you something, but there's some kind of magic involved. Now, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's something like Aladdin, where you let a genie out of the bottle. And so here are the three ingredients that you need. There's a wish, a spell, and a lesson. So usually the story starts off with a hero either in really good circumstances or really poor circumstances. And then there is a wish.
I wish I were a bitch.
Now the wish is for a better life, or it could be like in Liar Liar where the young kid wishes that the father wouldn't lie.
I wish that for only one day Dad couldn't tell a lie.
There's a wish and then a spell. The spell is cast.
You've been doing a lot of complaining about me, Bruce. You think you can do it better, so here's your chance. When you leave this building, you will be endowed with all my powers.
But now, thanks to the miracle of science, he's about to make a change.
And then once the spell is cast, we love to watch this main character bumble through this new situation in these new circumstances. So this could be Bruce Almighty, this could be Trading Places, this could be Freaky Friday. All of those different movies where a character wishes for something, the spell is cast, and it's not until the lesson is learned Once the main character learns the lesson they were supposed to, then they return back to their old life. Now, usually, whatever they thought they didn't have is the thing that saves them in their new circumstance. The lesson is solved, and then they go back to their old life. They always return back to their old life, but now they're filled with hope. The next type of story is called the buddy love story. Now, this is a love story of any kind. This could be a love story between two friends.
6 inches from the waist, 90-degree angles. This is home. You see somebody you know, I don't want none of this. Don't bite your lip. Stop biting your lip. None of this.
Okay, see, now that's what I need to be learning.
In the club with my homies, trying to get a little VI, keep it down on the low key.
Don't ever do that.
Between two lovers. Between parents and their child.
I'm either coming with you or you're fishing for your keys in the sewer. Oh my god, that was close.
Or between an animal and another human.
Sit.
Sit!
But really, here's what it boils down to. The three ingredients are: you need an incomplete hero, you need a counterpart, and then you need a complication or a turn of events. So you have an incomplete hero, a counterpart, and a turn of events or a complication. Now, these stories almost always start off with a main character who's missing something from their lives.
I don't want to be the bad guy anymore.
Either they work too much and they don't play enough, or they play too hard and they don't obey the rules, and then the counterpart is introduced.
Why are your hands so freakishly big?
I don't know. Why are you so freakishly annoying?
The counterpart is everything that they are missing in their lives. They just don't know it yet. And the fun part of this story are watching these two personalities clash.
Show me the magic. Show me the magic.
What the hell was that? I'm showing you the magic. No, I said come 90 and then I come 10. You don't go the whole 100. You overzealous son of...
And throughout the journey, there's a complication that happens that forces them to work together, and then they start to understand how well they can work together. Now, another complication arises that tears the team apart, and they decide they don't want to be around each other again. And then they have to come to the decision themselves that they are going to join forces and complete each other.
I know I've done all kinds of wrong by this kid. I just like to do one thing right.
And once that happens, they can defeat whatever villain is set in front of them.
Which car are we taking? Not that one. Oh, my God. Oh, God.
And that is a buddy love story. The next type of story we're going to talk about is called a whodunit.
I suspect foul play.
Not a whodunit, because honestly, nobody ever cares about the whodunit. They always care about motive. Motive is the most interesting part of a mystery. So a whodunit is a mystery story. Now, what you need is you need a detective, you need a secret, and you need a dark turn. Now, does it always have to be a detective? No.
What happened last night?
In fact, most of the time they're not. It could be a Harry Potter story where every Harry Potter book is a whodunit. And you have the three characters who are trying to solve a mystery, and by the end of it, they solve the mystery. So it could be a detective, or it could be a student, it could be a friend who is investigating it.
She asked for my help. I just want to know she's okay.
So what's first?
I'm gonna start shaking things up.
It could be anyone. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that they take on the role of a detective. So they start to try to figure out what this secret is.
Am I missing a tooth?
Oh. Whose baby is that?
And the closer they get to the secret, the closer they get to that dark turn. And the dark turn is the moment where the main character is in danger whether or not they find out the motive. It doesn't matter at that point because they could die or they are in peril at any rate because they've reached a certain point. So by the end, they do solve it. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, but what you need is a detective, a secret, and a dark turn for a really good Why Done It. Next, we have Dude with a Problem. Now, these are a story where a main character is just kind of dealing and surviving whatever situation they're thrown into.
What are the odds?
And so what you have is the three ingredients that you must have in a dude or dudette with a problem is you need an innocent hero. Somebody who's just minding their own business and gets caught up in these events.
Nice ride.
Thanks.
How much?
Excuse me?
How much for the car?
You need a test of survival or a complication.
You can't touch a child, they're toxic. If a kid ever got through one of our doors, the results would be catastrophic.
Bucket.
A sudden event. So you need an innocent hero, a sudden event, and life or death. If you have those three, then you have a dude or a dudette with a problem.
It's not what you did, son. It's who you did it to.
Nobody?
That nobody is John Wick.
This is something like San Andreas, something like Earthquake. Anytime somebody's trying to survive a natural disaster. You could argue that this is kind of Die Hard too, where you have an innocent hero who's just walking into a situation, now they're caught, now they have to figure it out, right? So in order for you to have a dude or dudette with a problem, what you need is an innocent hero, a sudden event, and things need to escalate to life or death. Next, you have institutionalized. Now, these are your human versus society stories.
You want these people?
My people, I want my people.
Who are you, Moses?
All you have to do is tell me what it's worth to you. What's a person worth?
No. What's one worth to you?
These are stories like Avatar, Dances with Wolves, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One where you have a group, a choice, and a sacrifice. Now these are always metaphors for injustice. A lot of times it's about racism or some kind of social justice in general. But what you have is a group of people who are kind of oppressing another group. And then you have a character from the oppressive group who then, in some type of circumstance, goes into the other world of the oppressed.
You want to get mixed up in a family business? You got to get up close like this. Bada bing! You blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
And then starts to learn about them.
What are you doing to these people? You can't do this to them. You're messing with their whole universe.
Maybe it needs to be messed with, David.
And in learning that, in learning about them, they realize that they are more like the oppressed group than they are like the oppressors.
We're nuts.
And then they decide to turn and fight against them.
We're going up against gunships with bows and arrows.
Well, I guess we better stop it.
And that's where your choice comes in. So you have a group, then you have a choice, and finally it ends with a sacrifice. See, the only way to bridge the two gaps between these two different groups is for the main character, who is from both groups, to sacrifice. There's either they sacrifice themselves or somebody or something is sacrificed. If this is The Godfather, Michael Corleone's soul is sacrificed. If it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Jack Nicholson, the main character, or the main character in the story, sacrifices himself. But there's a big giant sacrifice in order to bridge these two gaps.
Whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
Next, you have the Fool Triumphant.
Y'all ready for this?
These are really fun stories where we watch a fool,
Call security.
Good idea.
I like to whisper too.
take on an establishment of some kind.
Where you going with those clubs, punk? I'm your caddy. He's gonna be on the tour. That's super.
So the three ingredients that you need are a fool, an establishment, and a transmutation. Now we're going to get into what each of those things are. The fool is kind of a clueless buffoon who wanders through life and is kind of silly.
Would you like a chocolate?
Oh, thank you.
Now everybody kind of looks down on them or they overlook them, but we laugh at them because they are foolish and fun. And there is an establishment that is trying to take them down.
So, Bob. Exactly. Let's use it.
And no matter how hard the establishment tries, they cannot take care of them. They can't get rid of the fool.
Buddy Deal, what's your favorite color?
You people, this is golf!
But the fool narrowly escapes over and over and over and over. Now there is a moment where the fool becomes aware that that character is a fool, and then they have their dark moment, their dark night of the soul moment.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
And then there's a transmutation that happens where they kind of evolve into a super version of the fool. Now you're going to see this in things like Inspector Gadget, in pretty much any Robin Williams film, in a lot of Jim Carrey or Ben Stiller or Adam Sandler films. What you're going to see is a fool take on an establishment, and then there's a transmutation so that at the end the character is evolved. They've taken all of the lovable parts of the fool, but now they're a more complete person and that kind of complete hero. Next, we have rites of passage stories. Now, these are always stories about dealing with life problems.
What did you have for lunch today?
I don't know. A salad?
Exactly. I used to have this appetite for food, for life, and it's just gone. I want to go someplace where I can marvel at something.
Now, these life problems can be anything. It could be going through a divorce.
Or breaking up with a guy. I haven't had so much as 2 weeks just to deal with myself.
Going through some kind of loss of a family member. Or it could be something silly and positive, like losing your virginity.
Are you a virgin?
Oh, you are hilarious. This is good.
You're a virgin!
Or maybe getting married or going on your first date or anything like that.
My Waldo's a song. Marriage is gonna curb that appetite for more women.
In what world?
You guys want to go see a dead body?
I bet you anything that if we find him, we'll get our pictures in the paper. Yeah, we can even be on TV. Sure, we'll be heroes. Yeah!
Some kind of big life event. Now, this has 3 ingredients as well. There's always a life event that happens, then there is a wrong way of doing it, and then finally there is acceptance. So what happens is in a life event, so a movie like American Pie, you have a group of people or a group of teenagers who want to lose their virginity. And then they go about it in all of the wrong ways. And that's what the fun of that type of story is watching this character kind of bumble through, or this group of characters bumble their way through this life problem. And they're doing it in all of the wrong ways.
I'm having a relationship with my pizza. This is my no-carb left-behind experiment. I'm going for it.
Nothing is ever resolved until the main character accepts who they are, accepts that they cannot change the consequences of the life event.
Clear out all that space in your mind. You know what the universe would do? Rush in.
And at that moment, they are able to move forward.
You sound good. Stronger.
This is any movie about grief, loss.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, Corey? You can do anything you want, man. Just wish I could go someplace where nobody knows me.
pretty much any independent movie, if you think about it. And there's also silly movies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, like American Pie, that we've talked about. And each of those films all fall under the umbrella of a rites of passage film. Finally, we have the superhero film. Now, a superhero film doesn't necessarily mean that it's about superheroes.
What's the plan?
It mostly involves not dying.
That's a good plan. I like that plan.
It's more of the subject matter of what it's dealing with. Now, the three ingredients that you have to have in a superhero film are you need a special power, you need a nemesis, and then there's a curse. See, superhero movies are always about the curse of being special. So if you have a special ability...
Test group needs a computer. Catherine's the gal for that. She can handle any numbers you put in front of her.
You and I are different from each other.
This is about inventing the math, because without it, we're not going anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Usually, it's a blessing and a curse.
I don't know if I can keep up in that room.
Just make that pencil move as fast as your mind does.
Because if you're in school, and these stories are really geared towards nerds, right? And if you're a nerd in high school, you're smarter than everybody around you. And you're picked on for that. You don't have a lot of friends. And so this special gift you have is also your curse.
You may think that's a strange dream for a rat, but I've always believed that with hard work and a little luck, it's only a matter of time before I'm discovered.
And so these movies really speak to that type of character. And so the movie's really highlighting the curse itself.
You've been gone for 300 hours.
Felt like it to me, too.
You once told me that we'd be together. Did you mean it?
Bruce, don't make me your only hope for a normal life.
Now there's a nemesis that gives them the opportunity to be normal. And the nemesis is kind of the evil version of the main character. And finally, the main character has to embrace the curse as both a blessing and a curse so that they can be victorious.
We're in Paris now, baby. My town. Hey.
And that's the end of the 10 different story types. So, what I want you to do is I want you to go and watch 3 movies or 3 TV shows. I know, it's a lot, so I'm gonna give you a whole week to do it, but I want you to watch 3 movies or 3 TV shows, and I want you to see if you can discover what type of story that story you watched was. Now you have to remember that every episode of television is written by a different person, and every episode is a different type of story as well. So, you can watch 3 episodes and have 3 totally different stories. All right, I can't wait to see what you bring, and I'll see you soon.